The chandelier scattered light like diamonds across the marble floor of the Bartolotti estate. 200 guests filled the grand ballroom. Senators, judges, men whose names appeared in newspapers and whose crimes never did. And in the corner, surrounded by empty space, sat a little girl in a white dress. She was maybe 8 years old. Dark curls, eyes that watched everything, hands folded in her lap. No one approached her, not because she wasn't beautiful, but because everyone knew whose daughter she was. Whispers circled the room like smoke. The deaf one, poor thing, can't hear a word. I wouldn't know what to say anyway. Her father is right there. I'm not getting close. The girl's gaze dropped to her shoes. Patent leather, shiny, untouched by the dance floor. She understood more than they realized. She always did. Across the room, a woman in a simple sage dress paused mid-step. She wasn't supposed to be here. She was staff, a musician hired for the evening. But something made her stop. Something in that silence. She crossed the room and knelt. Her hands rose slowly. Hi, I'm Chiara. I love your dress. The girl's eyes widened. Not with fear, with recognition. 20 feet away, Leone Bartolotti lowered his glass. His dark eyes locked on the woman kneeling before his daughter. The tattoo across his knuckles caught the light. His stillness deepened. Something just shifted. And he intended to find out exactly who she was. If you're enjoying this story, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. It means everything. Now let's continue. The first thing anyone noticed about Leone Bartolotti wasn't his height. It wasn't the suit, though it was always impeccable. It was the stillness. He stood near the east wall of the ballroom, half hidden in the shadow of a pillar. One hand held a glass of whiskey, untouched. The other rested against the cool marble behind him. He didn't need to move. The room moved around him. A senator passed by with a nervous nod. A judge avoided eye contact entirely. Two businessmen who had been laughing too loudly fell silent when they realized how close they stood to him. No one approached unless invited. And Leone rarely invited. His gaze swept the room, not searching, cataloging. Every exit, every unfamiliar face, every hand that lingered too long near a pocket. His men were positioned at 6 points throughout the ballroom. 3 more outside, 2 on the roof. But his attention kept returning to the corner. To Valentina. She sat where he'd left her. A small table near the window away from the noise. A glass of sparkling water. A plate of untouched fruit. She was 8 years old. And she was completely alone. He watched as guests passed by. Watched the subtle shifts. The way their paths curved. Avoiding her table like water parting around a stone. Some whispered. Some didn't bother to hide their stares. His jaw tightened. They feared him. Good. They should. But they treated his daughter like she was something fragile. Something broken. Something to be avoided rather than understood. She wasn't broken. She was simply different. And the world had never been kind to different. He moved to go to her. Then stopped. A woman was walking toward Valentina's table. Not circling. Not hesitating. Walking directly. Leone's hand tightened on the glass. He didn't recognize her. Young. Mid-20s. Dark hair that fell in soft waves past her shoulders. A simple dress, not designer. Not expensive. She didn't belong to any of the families in attendance. Staff, perhaps. A server. A coordinator. But something about her posture was different. She wasn't afraid. Chiara Belandi had never been comfortable at parties. Too much noise. Too many voices layered over each other until words became meaningless. She preferred the quiet, the space between notes, the pause before a chord resolved. She was only here because the agency had booked her. One night, they'd said. Play during cocktail hour. Easy money. The piano had been positioned near the back of the ballroom. She'd played for 90 minutes. Debussy, Chopin, a few Italian pieces she thought might suit the evening. No one had listened. That was fine. She was used to being invisible. But when she'd finished and slipped away from the bench, she'd seen the girl. Alone. Surrounded by empty chairs. And something in Chiara's chest had tightened. She knew that feeling. She'd lived that feeling. So she walked. Not quickly. Not hesitantly. Just steadily. The girl looked up as she approached. Dark eyes, guarded, a slight tension in her small shoulders. Kiara smiled softly. Then she knelt. Her knees touched the cold marble floor. She didn't care. A level mattered more than dignity. Slowly, she raised her hands. Hi, she signed. I'm Kiara. I love your dress. The girl's lips parted. For a moment she didn't move, didn't respond. Then, her hands lifted. You know sign. Kiara's smile widened. Yes, I learned when I was young. My cousin was deaf. The girl's fingers moved faster now, more confident. No one ever talks to me. They just stare. That's because they don't know how, Kiara signed back. But I do. So now you have someone to talk to. Something shifted in the girl's expression. A crack in the armor. A small, hesitant smile. I'm Valentina. That's a beautiful name. My papa chose it. He has good taste. Valentina's smile grew. For the first time all evening, the loneliness in her eyes began to fade. She didn't notice the man watching from across the room. But Kiara did. She felt him before she saw him. Pressure. A heaviness in the air. Like the moment before a thunderstorm when the sky goes still and everything holds its breath. Kiara kept her focus on Valentina. Kept signing. Asked about her favorite color. Her favorite animal. Whether she liked music. I can't hear music, Valentina signed. But I like watching people play. I can feel it sometimes. In my chest. Kiara's heart ached. That's called resonance, she signed. The vibrations travel through the air, through the floor, through your body. You're not missing the music, Valentina. You're feeling it differently. Valentina's eyes widened. No one had ever explained it like that. No one had ever made her feel like she wasn't missing something. You play music? Piano. I played tonight. Maybe next time you can sit closer. Feel the vibrations. Next time. Kiara hesitated. She didn't know why she'd said that. This was a one-night job. She'd never see this girl again. But something about Valentina made her want to stay. Maybe, she signed softly. A shadow fell over them. Kiara looked up, and the air left her lungs. He was tall, over 6 feet. Dark hair swept back from a sharp, angular face. Light stubble traced his jaw. His suit was black, perfectly tailored, not a single thread out of place. But it was his eyes that stopped her. Dark, impossibly dark, and fixed entirely on her. She couldn't look away. She couldn't breathe. His presence was overwhelming. Not loud, not aggressive, just absolute, like gravity, like standing too close to the edge of a cliff. She noticed the tattoo then. Italian script across his knuckles. The letters caught the chandelier light as his hand moved slightly, reaching down to touch Valentina's shoulder. The girl looked up and smiled. Papa. The word was signed and spoken. A soft, imperfect sound that held more love than any perfect pronunciation ever could. The man's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes softened, just for a moment. Then his gaze returned to Kiara. Stand, he said, not a request. Kiara's knees trembled as she rose. He was taller up close. The scent of sandalwood and something darker, whiskey, perhaps, clung to him. You sign, he said. It wasn't a question. Yes. Where did you learn? My cousin was deaf. I learned young. A pause. His eyes traced her face, her posture, her hands, cataloging, assessing. She felt stripped bare. What's your name? Kiara. Kiara Belandi. And why are you at this event? Kiara Belandi? I was hired to play piano. For cocktail hour. You're a musician. Yes. Another pause. He didn't blink. She wasn't sure he needed to. My daughter doesn't smile often, he said finally. Especially not at strangers. Kiara glanced down at Valentina. The girl was still smiling. Her hands were folded in her lap, but her eyes kept darting between Kiara and her father. Hope. That's what Kiara saw in those dark eyes. Hope that this woman, this stranger who spoke her language, might not disappear like everyone else. Kiara looked back at the man. She's easy to talk to, she said quietly. When you know how to listen. Something flickered in his expression. She couldn't read it, Surprise, maybe, or something deeper. He reached into his jacket, pulled out a card, held it between two fingers. The tattoo on his knuckles caught the light again. A lion. Roman numerals beneath it. Tomorrow, he said. 10 in the morning. This address. She took the card without thinking. The paper was heavy. Expensive. A single address printed in embossed black letters. I don't understand. My daughter needs a tutor. Someone who can communicate with her properly. Not interpreters who treat her like a project. Not specialists who talk about her instead of to her. Kiara's mouth went dry. You want me to? I want you to consider it. He turned to leave, then paused. And Miss Bellandy? She looked up. His eyes met hers one final time. Don't be late. He walked away. Valentina lingered for a moment longer. Her hands lifted. Will I see you again? Kiara hesitated. Then signed. Maybe. Valentina's smile was blinding. Then she hurried after her father, her small hand slipping into his as they disappeared into the crowd. Kiara stood alone. The card felt heavy in her hands. She didn't know his name, but she knew, somehow with absolute certainty, that nothing would ever be the same. She found out who he was within the hour. One of the servers had seen her talking to him, had pulled her aside with wide eyes and a trembling voice. You spoke to Il Leone? I don't know who that is. Leone Bartolotti. He runs the Bartolotti Syndicate, the most powerful mafia family in the region. Maybe the country. Kiara's blood went cold. Mafia? Shoo. Don't say it so loud. The server glanced around nervously. He's not someone you want to cross, or attract attention from. I just talked to his daughter. His daughter? The server's expression shifted. Pity mixed with fear. The deaf one. Poor kid. No one ever knows what to do with her. Kiara said nothing, but something hot and sharp twisted in her chest. Poor kid. As if Valentina was a burden. A tragedy. As if she wasn't a child who simply experienced the world differently. Kiara left the event early. She didn't play the final set. She went home to her small apartment, sat on the edge of her bed, stared at the card in her hands. Leone Bartolotti, a man whose name made servers tremble. A man who commanded rooms without speaking. A man who looked at her like he was trying to read her soul. She should throw the card away. She should forget this night ever happened. She should. Will I see you again? Valentina's hopeful eyes flashed through her mind. Those small hands lifting. That hesitant smile. Kiara closed her eyes. She already knew what she was going to do. The address led to a private estate outside the city. Iron gates. Stone walls. Security cameras positioned at every angle. Kiara sat in her car for 10 minutes before working up the courage to press the intercom. Name? Kiara Bellandy. I have an appointment. A pause. Then the gates swung open. The driveway was long, lined with cypress trees that cast long shadows across the gravel. The house emerged slowly. A massive stone structure that looked more like a fortress than a home. Beautiful and utterly intimidating. She parked near the entrance, smoothed her dress, took a breath. The door opened before she could knock. A man in a dark suit, broad shoulders, expressionless face. He gestured for her to follow. She did. The interior was just as overwhelming. High ceilings, dark wood, paintings that probably cost more than she'd earn in a lifetime. But there was something cold about it. Something empty. The man led her to a sitting room and left without a word. Kiara waited. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. Her nerves wound tighter with every second. Finally, the door opened, and he walked in. Leone looked different in the daylight. Sharper. More real. He wore a charcoal suit today. The top button of his shirt was undone, revealing the edge of another tattoo. Script that curved along his collarbone. His eyes found hers immediately. You came. It wasn't surprise in his voice. It was something else. Satisfaction, maybe, or curiosity. You asked me to. I gave you a choice. I know. He moved to a chair across from her. Saturday. His posture was relaxed, but something in his stillness suggested coiled energy. Predator at rest. Why did you come? Kiara hesitated. The truthful answer felt too raw, too vulnerable. Because of Valentina. Not for the money? I don't know what you're paying. I'll pay whatever's necessary. Then it's not about the money. A pause. His eyes traced her face again. The same cataloging look from the night before. You're not afraid of me. It wasn't a question. Kiara considered lying. I am, she admitted. But that's not why I'm here. Then why? She met his gaze. Because your daughter was sitting alone at a party full of people. Because no one talked to her. No one even tried. And when I signed to her, she looked at me like I'd given her something precious. She paused. No child should feel invisible. Something shifted in his expression. A crack in the mask. For just a moment he looked almost human. She's been invisible her whole life, he said quietly. Her mother left when she was 2. Couldn't handle, he stopped. Reset. It doesn't matter. What matters is now. What happened to her mother? She chose a different life. The words were flat. Final. Kiara didn't push. Valentina needs consistency, Leon continued. Someone who can communicate with her naturally. Someone who sees her as a person, not a problem to solve. I'm a piano teacher, Kiara said. Not a specialist. I've had specialists. They treated her like a case study. His jaw tightened. I'm not looking for clinical expertise. I'm looking for connection. Kiara's breath caught. There it was again. That crack. That glimpse of something beneath the ice. I can't promise I'll be what she needs, she said carefully. Neither can I. He leaned forward slightly. But you made her smile, Kiara. In 8 years, I can count on one hand the number of people who've done that. She wanted to say yes. She wanted to run. She stayed still. What would this entail? Tutoring. 3 days a week to start. Here at the estate. I'll have a car sent for you. I have my own car. Then you'll use it. A pause. But you'll be watched. Watched. Protected. There are people who would hurt her to get to me. I won't take that risk. The weight of his world pressed down on her. This wasn't just a tutoring job. This was entering a fortress. This was orbiting a man whose name made people tremble. This was, will I see you again? Valentina's hope. Valentina's loneliness. Valentina's smile. Okay, Kiara said quietly. I'll try. Leon's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes warmed. Tomorrow, he said. Same time. He stood, extended his hand. She took it. His grip was firm, warm. The tattoo on his knuckles pressed against her skin. He held on for 1 second longer than necessary, then let go. Welcome to the family, Miss Bellandy. The words should have been comforting. They felt like a warning. Valentina was waiting for her the next morning. The girl stood at the window of the sitting room, her dark curls pulled back with a ribbon. When she saw Kiara enter, her whole face lit up. You came. Kiara smiled and signed back. I told you I would. People say things they don't mean all the time. The words were matter of fact. Not bitter. Just resigned. For an 8-year-old. Kiara's heart cracked a little more. Not me, she signed firmly. When I say something, I mean it. Valentina studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. They sat together at a small table. Kiara had brought materials, picture cards, writing supplies, a few children's books that incorporated sign language, but she didn't use them. Instead, she asked Valentina what she wanted to talk about. What do you mean? I mean, what interests you? What do you like? What do you think about? Valentina frowned. No one asks me that. I'm asking. A pause. Then, I like watching the birds in the garden. I like when Papa reads to me, he signs while he reads, but sometimes he messes up the words and I have to correct him. I like chocolate cake. I don't like carrots. I want to learn to play piano, but no one knows how to teach me. Kiara's eyebrows rose. You want to play piano? I know I can't hear it, but I can feel it. You said so. At the party. You remember that? I remember everything. Kiara sat back. An idea was forming. What if I taught you? To play piano? To feel it? To understand how it works? You don't need to hear music to make it, Valentina. You just need to understand the patterns. The girl's eyes widened. Really? Really? For the next hour, they talked about music theory, about vibration and frequency, about the way different notes felt against your fingertips. Chiara drew diagrams, tapped rhythms on the table, let Valentina press her palm against her throat while she hummed. By the end, Valentina was vibrating with excitement. Can we do this every time? We can do whatever you want. This is your time. Valentina's smile was blinding. And Chiara felt something she hadn't felt in years. Purpose. She didn't notice Leon watching from the doorway, but he was there. Had been for the last 30 minutes. His shoulder rested against the frame. His arms were crossed. The tattoo at the base of his neck was visible above his collar, a Roman numeral, the date of something important. He didn't move, didn't interrupt, just watched. Watched his daughter laugh. Watched his daughter connect. Watched this woman, this stranger, give Valentina something he'd never been able to. Understanding. His jaw tightened. Something dangerous stirred in his chest. He pushed it down. But it didn't disappear. Leon sat alone in his study. The room was dark. A single lamp cast a pool of light over the papers on his desk. He wasn't reading them. He was thinking about Chiara Belandi. Her file sat in front of him. 3 pages. Everything his people had been able to find. Born in Florence. Raised by a single mother. Father unknown. Attended the conservatory on scholarship. Graduated top of her class. No criminal record. No debts. No connections to rival families. Clean. Too clean. His instincts prickled. He reached for his phone. Dialed. Marco. Boss. The woman. Chiara Belandi. I want a deeper background. How deep? Birth records. School files. Medical history. Anyone she's ever known. A pause. You think she's a plant? I think I don't trust coincidences. A woman who speaks sign language appears at my daughter's side on the one night I'm hosting half the city's power players. It's possible it's exactly what it seems. Nothing is ever what it seems. Leon ended the call. He leaned back in his chair, closed his eyes, but he didn't see darkness. He saw her, kneeling on the marble floor, hands moving gently, eyes soft, unafraid. His fingers tightened on the armrest. He didn't trust her, but something about her made him want to, and that was more dangerous than any weapon. Chiara came 3 times a week, then 4, then 5. It started as tutoring, lessons in language and communication. Valentina's vocabulary expanded. Her confidence grew. She started asking questions about the world, about music, about things no one had ever bothered to explain. But somewhere along the way it became something more. Friendship. Not between equals. Chiara was still the adult, still the teacher. But there was a bond forming. A trust that Valentina hadn't given anyone in years. They developed rituals. Every session started with Valentina showing Chiara something from the garden. A flower, a leaf, a stone she'd found. Every session ended with Chiara playing something on the piano in the music room, while Valentina pressed her hands against the wood and felt the vibrations. It was unconventional, but it was working. Leon noticed. He kept his distance at first, stayed in his study, handled business, but he found himself inventing reasons to walk past the music room, to catch glimpses, to listen. One afternoon he paused outside the door. Chiara was at the piano. Valentina sat beside her on the bench, her small hands pressed flat against the surface. Chiara was playing something slow, a nocturne, the kind of piece that built gradually, layering emotion over emotion until the heart couldn't contain it. Valentina's eyes were closed. She was smiling. And Leon felt something crack open inside him, something he'd kept locked away for a very long time. He left before they noticed him, but the image stayed, burned into his mind like a brand. It happened on a Thursday. Valentina had fallen asleep on the couch in the music room. Too many emotions, too much excitement. Chiara had draped a blanket over her and was quietly packing up her materials when the door opened. Leon stepped inside. He moved silently, like a predator, like someone who'd learned that noise attracted attention, and attention was dangerous. Chiara's heart stuttered. "She's asleep," she said softly. "I can see that." He stopped a few feet away. His eyes moved from Valentina's peaceful face to Chiara's nervous hands. You don't need to be afraid of me, he said. I'm not. Your pulse is visible in your throat. She swallowed. That's not fear. His eyebrow lifted slightly. Then what is it? She didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because the truth was too complicated. Too dangerous. He was terrifying. But he was also fascinating. The way he watched his daughter. The way his whole demeanor softened around her. The way he spoke. Measured, precise, like every word was calculated for maximum impact. She'd never met anyone like him. You've changed her, Leon said quietly. In 3 weeks, you've done more for her than years of specialists and tutors. She just needed someone to see her. People have seen her before. No, Chiara shook her head. They've seen the deafness. They've seen your daughter. They haven't seen her. Leon was silent. His gaze held hers. The room felt smaller suddenly. Warmer. You're different, he said finally. From what? From everyone. She didn't know how to respond. I've had you investigated, he continued. Background checks. Financial records. Everything. Her blood chilled. And clean. Too clean. There's nothing to find. I'm exactly who I appear to be. No one is exactly who they appear to be. Maybe you've just met the wrong people. A pause. Something flickered in his eyes. Amusement? Interest? Perhaps. He moved closer. Just one step. But the distance between them halved. I don't trust easily, Chiara. I wouldn't expect you to. But Valentina trusts you. And her instincts have always been better than mine. He reached out. For a terrifying, thrilling moment, she thought he was going to touch her. But his hand only lifted a strand of hair that had fallen across her shoulder. Moved it gently aside. His knuckles brushed her collarbone. The tattoo, Italian script, pressed briefly against her skin. Then he stepped back. Dinner, he said. Tomorrow night. Valentina has been asking. Dinner. Is that a problem? Yes. No. She didn't know. Good. 8 o'clock. He turned to leave, then paused at the door. Chiara. She looked up. Thank you, he said quietly, for seeing her. He left, and Chiara stood alone in the music room, her heart racing, her skin still burning where he'd touched her. She was in trouble. She knew it, but she couldn't bring herself to run. The dining room was vast. A long table that could seat 20. Crystal chandeliers. Silver candlesticks. The kind of opulence that belonged in museums, not homes. But only 3 places were set. Chiara, Valentina, Leon. They sat at one end of the table, the empty chairs stretching into shadow. Valentina chattered through the entire meal, or rather signed rapidly, her hands moving so fast that Chiara sometimes had to ask her to slow down. Papa says you're going to teach me piano properly. Not just feeling it, actually playing. If you want to learn, yes. I want to play something for Papa's birthday. It's in 3 months. Can we do that? Chiara glanced at Leon. He was watching his daughter with an expression she couldn't read. Pride maybe, and something softer. That's a lot of work, Chiara said carefully. But if you're willing to practice, I'll practice every day. I promise. Then we'll try. Valentina beamed. The meal continued. Leon said little, but he watched, always watching. Every time Chiara looked up, his eyes were on her. Not threatening, not intrusive, just present, like he was trying to understand something, like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. After dinner, Valentina was taken upstairs by one of the household staff. Time for bed. She hugged Chiara before leaving. See you tomorrow? Day after. But I'll be here. Promise. Promise. The girl smiled and disappeared up the stairs. Chiara turned to leave. Walk with me. Leon's voice came from behind her. Low, not quite a command, but close. She hesitated, then nodded. He led her through a set of glass doors into a garden she hadn't seen before. Moonlight spilled across stone pathways. Roses climbed iron trellises. A fountain burbled softly in the distance. Beautiful, dangerous, like him. They walked in silence for several minutes. Finally, Leon spoke. You're uncomfortable. I'm adjusting. To what? To this. She gestured vaguely. Your world. It's not what I'm used to. What are you used to? Small apartments. Second-hand pianos. Students who pay in cash because their parents can't afford bank transfers. And yet here you are. Here I am. He stopped walking. She stopped too. They stood face to face in the moonlight. His features were sharper in the silver light. The tattoo at his neck was a dark shadow against his skin. Why did you really come, Chiara? She met his gaze. I told you. Because of Valentina. That's part of it. But not all. She swallowed. What do you want me to say? The truth. The truth is complicated. Most truths are. She looked away. At the roses. At the fountain. Anywhere but his eyes. When I saw her sitting alone, I recognized something. What? Myself. A pause. You were lonely as a child? My mother worked 3 jobs. I was alone most of the time. I learned to read people because I couldn't talk to them. To understand emotions because I couldn't express my own. She laughed softly. Without humor. Music became my language. The only way I knew how to communicate what I felt. And sign language? My cousin, Rosa. She was deaf. Brilliant. Funny. The only person who ever understood me. She died when I was 17. Leon was silent. I'm sorry. It was a long time ago. Grief doesn't have an expiration date. She looked at him then, and saw something unexpected. Recognition. You lost someone too, she said quietly. His jaw tightened. My mother. When I was 12. What happened? She discovered something she shouldn't have. About my father's business. About the family. And she disappeared. Officially, she left. Abandoned us. That's what everyone believes. But you don't believe it. I know she wouldn't have left me. Not voluntarily. His voice was flat. Controlled. I've spent 20 years trying to find out what really happened. Have you found anything? Fragments. Suspicions. But nothing concrete. He turned away. Looked up at the stars. My father told me she chose a different life. That she never loved us enough to stay. I believed him for years. Then he died, and I took over the family, and I started finding inconsistencies. What kind of inconsistencies? Documents that didn't match. Timelines that made no sense. People who refused to talk. His hands clenched at his sides. Someone in my own family helped her disappear. Or helped make her disappear. I don't know which. Chiara's heart ached. She reached out. Her fingers brushed his arm. He went still. I'm sorry, she said softly. That's a terrible burden to carry. He looked down at her hand. Then at her face. Something shifted in his expression. The ice cracked. Just for a moment. You're not afraid to touch me, he said quietly. Should I be? Most people are. I'm not most people. A ghost of a smile crossed his lips. No, you're not. He didn't pull away. Neither did she. They stood in the moonlight, her hand on his arm, the silence stretching between them like a living thing. Then he stepped back. The mask slid back into place. It's late, he said. I'll have Marco drive you home. I can drive myself. I know. But humor me. She didn't argue. Because arguing with Leon Bartolotti felt dangerous in ways she wasn't ready to explore. After that night, something changed. Subtle at first. A shift in the atmosphere. The way he looked at her. The way she found herself looking back. He started appearing during lessons. Not interrupting. Just present. He'd stand in the doorway. Or sit in a chair in the corner. Watching Valentina. Watching Chiara. Sometimes their eyes would meet. And hold. Longer than necessary. Chiara tried to ignore it. Tried to focus on Valentina. On the lessons. On the music. But her awareness of him was constant. A low hum beneath her skin. A gravity she couldn't escape. 3 weeks later. Chiara arrived for a lesson to find the house in chaos. Staff hurrying through hallways. Men in dark suits speaking rapidly into phones. A tension in the air that made her skin prickle. Marco met her at the door. Mr. Bartolotti asks that you wait in the music room. There's been an incident. What kind of incident? Business. Nothing that concerns you. But his face said otherwise. She waited in the music room for an hour. Valentina didn't come. Finally, Leon appeared. He looked different. Harder. The controlled stillness had sharpened into something more dangerous. I apologize, he said. Valentina isn't feeling well. The lesson will have to be postponed. Is she okay? She's fine. Just tired. He was lying. She could see it. What happened? His jaw tightened. Nothing you need to worry about. I worry about Valentina. She's safe. I would never let anything happen to her. That's not what I asked. He stared at her. Long. Hard. Then he sighed. Someone sent a message. The threat. Targeted at my family. Chiara's blood ran cold. What kind of threat? The kind that requires a response. He moved closer. His hand lifted. Touched her cheek. You should stay away for a while. Until this is resolved. Stay away. It's not safe. What about Valentina? She needs. I'll protect Valentina. But I can't protect you if you're here. His thumb brushed her jaw. The touch was feather-light. Electric. You're worried about me, she whispered. I don't worry. Then what is this? Precaution. Feels like more than that. His eyes darkened. Don't push, Chiara. Why not? Because you won't like where it leads. She should step back. Should listen. Should run. Instead, she stayed. Maybe I want to find out. The air between them crackled. He didn't move. But she felt him everywhere. In the heat of his body, the intensity of his gaze, the way his breath caught slightly. You don't know what you're saying. I know exactly what I'm saying. I'm not a good man, Chiara. I know. I've done things. Terrible things. I know. Then why are you still standing here? She met his gaze. Held it. Because when you look at your daughter, I see something different. Something worth understanding. He closed his eyes. When he opened them again, something had changed. The walls were down. Just for a moment. I can't offer you safety, he said. I can't offer you a normal life. I've never wanted normal. What do you want? The question hung between them. Heavy. Pregnant. She should lie. Should protect herself. Instead, she told the truth. I want to understand you. The real you. Not the name. Not the fear. Just you. Leon was silent for a long moment. Then his hand moved. Cupped the back of her neck. Drew her closer. Their foreheads touched. You might regret that, he murmured. Maybe. But you'll stay. Yes. He exhaled. A sound of surrender. And something between them clicked into place. Like a lock finally opening. The next morning, Chiara found a note under her apartment door. Plain paper. Block letters. Stay away from the Bartolotti family. This is your only warning. Her hands trembled as she read it. Her first instinct was to call Leon. Her second was to run. She did neither. She sat on the edge of her bed, staring at the words, trying to decide what they meant. Someone knew about her. Someone was watching. Someone didn't want her near Valentina. Or Leon. Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. Are you okay? I heard something happened. She frowned. Who is this? A pause. Then, a friend. Someone who wants to help. Help with what? With Leon. With the truth. With what really happened to his mother. Chiara's heart stopped. What do you know about his mother? Another pause. Longer this time. Then, more than you can imagine. And so do you, Chiara. You just don't remember. The message ended. She tried to respond. The number had been disconnected. Chiara sat in the silence of her apartment. The note, the message, the warning. Something was very wrong. And somehow, impossibly, she was at the center of it. Her phone buzzed again. This time it was Leon. Dinner tonight. My place. We need to talk. She stared at the words. Remembered the way he'd touched her. The way he'd looked at her. The way he'd said you might regret that. She typed back. I'll be there. Then she looked at the note again. Stay away from the Bartolotti family. She crumpled it, threw it in the trash, and started getting ready. Dinner was tense. Valentina wasn't there. Resting? Leon said, though his eyes suggested something darker. They ate in silence. Or rather, Chiara picked at her food, while Leon watched her with that unsettling intensity. Finally, she couldn't take it anymore. Someone left a note under my door. His fork stilled. What kind of note? A warning. Telling me to stay away from your family. His expression didn't change, but something in the air shifted, hardened. Do you still have it? I threw it away. Why? Because I'm not going to be intimidated. A long pause. That was either very brave or very foolish. Maybe both. He set down his fork, stood, walked around the table, stopped beside her chair. You need to leave, Chiara. What? Go home. Pack a bag. I'm sending you somewhere safe until this is over. I'm not running. You don't understand what you're involved in. Then explain it to me. His jaw tightened. It's complicated. Everything about you is complicated. I'm still here. He looked down at her. His eyes were dark, conflicted. There's something else, she said quietly. Someone contacted me. After the note, they said I know something about your mother. That I just don't remember. Leon went still. Completely, utterly still. Who? I don't know. The number was disconnected. What exactly did they say? That they know what happened. That they want to help. Help who? You or me? I don't know. Maybe both. His hand gripped the back of her chair. What do you remember, Chiara? About your childhood. About your family. I already told you. My mother worked. I was alone. My cousin. What about your father? She hesitated. I don't know my father. My mother never talked about him. Never. She said he left before I was born. That he wasn't worth remembering. Leon's eyes narrowed. What was your mother's name? Elena. Elena Belandi. Something flickered across his face. Recognition. Fear. What? Chiara demanded. What is it? He didn't answer. Instead, he pulled out his phone. Dialed. Marco. I need everything we have on Elena Belandi. Born in Florence. Age would be early 50s now. Everything. He hung up. Looked at her. What aren't you telling me? Chiara's voice shook. I'm not sure yet. Leon. I need you to trust me. I don't even know you. You know me better than almost anyone. The words hung between them. Heavy. True. She did know him. In the weeks they'd spent together, she'd seen past the mask. Seen the father. The protector. The man haunted by ghosts he couldn't name. Tell me what you suspect, she whispered. He closed his eyes. Elena Belandi. I've seen that name before. Where? In my father's files. The ones I found after he died. What files? He opened his eyes. Looked at her with something that might have been sorrow. The files about my mother's disappearance. The world tilted. Chiara gripped the edge of the table. That's not possible. I hope you're right. My mother had nothing to do with your family. She was a seamstress. A nobody. She worked in my house. Chiara's breath stopped. What? Elena Belandi. She was employed here. In this estate. 25 years ago. His voice was low. Steady. She was one of my mother's attendants. Her personal maid. No. I don't have proof yet. But the timeline matches. The name matches. That could be a coincidence. There must be hundreds of Elena Bellandis. In Florence? Working in the Bartolotti household at the exact time my mother disappeared. She shook her head. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. My mother never mentioned anything about working for a mafia family. Never mentioned anything about, what if she couldn't? What if she was protecting you? From what? Leon's gaze held hers. From this. From me. From the truth. The walls were closing in. Chiara stood abruptly. Her chair scraped against the marble floor. I need air. Chiara. I need air. She fled. Not far, just to the garden. The same garden where they'd walked in moonlight. Where he'd told her about his mother. Where everything had started to change. She bent over. Hands on her knees. Trying to breathe. Her whole life. Her mother, her childhood, her father. It had always been a question mark. A void she'd learned to live with. But this, if her mother had worked here, If she'd known Leone's mother, if she'd witnessed something, what else didn't Chiara know? She heard footsteps, then warmth at her back. I didn't want to tell you like this. Leone's voice was low. Close. How did you want to tell me? I don't know. I only just made the connection. She laughed. Hollow. Is that why you hired me? Did you know from the beginning? No. His voice hardened. I had no idea. I hired you because of Valentina. Because of what you gave her. And now everything's changed. She turned to face him. His expression was unreadable in the dim light. What happens next? She asked. I find the truth. About your mother. About mine. About whatever connects them. And if the truth is something terrible, then we face it together. Why would you want that? You barely know me. He stepped closer. His hand lifted, cupped her face. I know you saved my daughter. I know you see past the monster everyone else fears. I know that when I'm near you, I feel something I haven't felt in years. What? Human. The word cracked something inside her. She leaned into his touch. I'm scared, she whispered. So am I. You don't seem scared of anything. I'm scared of losing this. Losing you. Before I even understand what you are to me. His forehead touched hers. Breath mingled. Hearts pounded. Stay, he murmured. Please, stay. And against every instinct screaming at her to run, she nodded. I'll stay. Marco called at midnight. Chiara had fallen asleep in the guest room. Leone's insistence, when she heard footsteps in the hallway. Hushed voices. Then silence. She crept to the door. Opened it a crack. Leone stood in the corridor, phone pressed to his ear. His back was to her, but she could see the tension in his shoulders. The rigid line of his spine. You're sure? A pause. How long? Another pause. Don't let anyone else see these files. I want them in my office by morning. He hung up, stood still for a long moment, then turned. Saw her. His expression flickered. You should be sleeping. What did Marco find? It can wait until morning. Leone. He exhaled. Walked toward her. Stopped close enough that she could feel his warmth. Your mother didn't just work here. She was present the night my mother disappeared. Chiara's stomach dropped. Present. According to the records my father kept, Elena Belandi was one of 3 people in the house that night. My mother, my father, and her. That doesn't mean she was involved. I know, but someone silenced my mother. Someone helped cover it up. And your mother disappeared from this city 2 months later. Pregnant. The word hung in the air. Pregnant. With me, Chiara whispered. The dates align. That doesn't mean anything. My father has never been identified. Your mother never spoke of him. Because he abandoned us. Or because she was protecting someone. The implications crashed over her like waves. If her mother had witnessed something, if she'd been threatened, if she'd fled to protect herself. Her baby. Her. You think my mother saw what happened that night? Chiara said slowly. I think she might be the only person who knows the truth. She's dead. What? She died. 2 years ago. Heart attack. Chiara's voice cracked. I wasn't there. I was on tour. By the time I got home, she was already gone. Leone was silent. Then his arms came around her, pulled her close. I'm sorry. She pressed her face against his chest, breathed him in. She never told me anything. Never mentioned this family. Never mentioned. She was protecting you. From what? From whoever killed my mother. The next morning, Marco delivered the files. Chiara sat beside Leone as he spread the documents across his desk. Old photographs, employment records, handwritten notes in faded ink. And there, a photograph. A young woman with dark hair and warm eyes. Early 20s. Standing beside an older woman with Leone's sharp features. That's my mother, Leone said quietly. Maria Bartolotti. Chiara looked at the young woman, and recognition hit her like a physical blow. That's my mother. Are you sure? I'd know her anywhere. That's her. That's Elena. They stared at the photograph. 2 mothers, bound by a secret neither had ever revealed. And their children, now bound by the same mystery. There's something else. Marco's voice came from the doorway. He held a single sheet of paper. I found this in the archive, hidden in a folder that had been mislabeled. He handed it to Leon. Leon read. His face went white. What is it? Chiara demanded. He looked at her, and for the first time since she'd known him, Leon Bartolotti looked afraid. It's a birth certificate. Whose? He handed her the paper. She read the names. Child. Unknown mother. Elena Belandi father. Vittorio Bartolotti. The room spun. Vittorio. Leon's father. No, she breathed. Chiara. No, that's not. My father wasn't. This is wrong. This has to be wrong. I don't know if it's wrong. But if it's true. If it's true, then we're siblings. The word fell between them like a blade. Chiara stumbled backward. Leon caught her arm. We don't know if this is real. This could be forged. Planted. By who? Someone trying to tear us apart. Someone who knows what you mean to me. What I mean to you. He pulled her close. I don't care what this paper says. I don't care what truth we uncover. You are not my sister. My instincts would know. My blood would know. That's not how genetics works. I don't trust genetics. I trust this. He pressed her hand against his chest. Against his heart. This doesn't lie. She was shaking. Everything she'd known, her identity, her family, her connection to him, was crumbling. I need time, she whispered. I need to think. Chiara, please, just give me time. He released her reluctantly. She fled. Not to the guest room. Not to the garden. She ran to the music room. To the piano. To the only thing that had never lied to her. She played for hours. Furious, violent music that poured out of her like blood from a wound. Valentina found her as the sun began to set. The little girl stood in the doorway watching. Waiting. Then she crossed the room. Sat beside Chiara on the bench. Reached out. Pressed her small hand against Chiara's arm. Are you sad? Chiara stopped playing. Looked at the child whose existence had changed everything. Yes, she signed. Very sad. Why? How could she explain this to an 8-year-old? How could she explain that the man she'd started to love might be her brother? That her whole life might be a lie? That nothing would ever be the same? Grown-up problems, she signed finally. Valentina studied her. Then, Papa looks sad too. He's in his study. He won't come out. Chiara's heart clenched. He has a lot to think about. You should go talk to him. I don't know what to say. Valentina's small hands moved slowly, deliberately. Sometimes you don't need words. Sometimes you just need to be there. Wisdom from an 8-year-old. Chiara's eyes burned. She pulled Valentina into a hug. The girl melted against her. And for a moment, just a moment, everything else faded. Later, Chiara found herself outside Leon's study. The door was closed. She could hear nothing from inside. Her hand hovered over the handle. Then, a gunshot. Loud. Close. Inside the study. She threw open the door. Leon was standing by the window, gun in hand. On the floor, a man in a dark suit. Bleeding. Dead. Leon turned. His face was spattered with blood. His eyes were wild. And in his other hand, he held a photograph. A photograph of Chiara. They were going to kill you, he said. His voice was raw. Broken. They've been watching you for weeks. Waiting for the right moment. Who? My family. The ones who killed my mother. They know you exist. They know what your mother saw. The dead man's hand was still gripping something. A letter. Chiara bent down. Pulled it free. The words blurred as she read. Eliminate the Belandi woman. She is a threat to the family. If Vittorio's bastard is allowed to live, the succession will be challenged. End this before Leon discovers the truth. Bastard. Succession. The birth certificate wasn't forged. It was real. She was Vittorio Bartolotti's daughter. Which meant, we're not siblings, Leon said quietly. She looked up. What? Vittorio Bartolotti wasn't my biological father. The world stopped. What are you talking about? My mother had an affair. Before she married him. I'm not his blood. Leon's voice was hollow. I found out years ago. This is why he hated me. Why he treated me like a disappointment. Why he never trusted me with the family secrets. Then who? It doesn't matter. What matters is this, you're Vittorio's daughter. I'm not. That means you're the legitimate heir to the Bartolotti Empire. The letter fell from her fingers. I don't want. It doesn't matter what you want. They know now. They'll never stop hunting you. He crossed the room, gripped her shoulders. Blood smeared against her skin. I can protect you. I can end this. But you have to trust me. How can I trust anyone? Because I'm the only one who's never lied to you. His eyes burned into hers. Dark. Desperate. True. There's only one way to keep you safe, he said. Only one way to make them stop. What? He released her shoulders, dropped to one knee, pulled a ring from his pocket. Marry me. The world shattered. Reformed. Shattered again. If you're my wife, you become untouchable. The family can't move against you without moving against me. And no one moves against me. Leon. I know this isn't how it's supposed to happen. I know this isn't romance or flowers or whatever fairy tale you imagined. But this is my world. This is survival. Is that all this is? Survival. He looked up at her. And for the first time, the mask cracked completely. No, he whispered. It's not just survival. I've been falling for you since the moment you knelt before my daughter. Since the moment you spoke with your hands instead of your voice. Since the moment you looked at me and saw something worth saving. His voice broke. I love you, Chiara. I love you in ways I didn't know I was capable of. And I will burn this entire world to the ground before I let anyone take you from me. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't speak. His words echoed through her. I love you. I will burn this entire world to the ground. Her eyes dropped to the ring. Simple. Beautiful. A diamond that caught the light like frozen fire. Then to his face. Blood spattered. Desperate. Vulnerable. The most powerful man in the city. On his knees before her. Begging. She opened her mouth. And the door burst open. Marco, breathless. Boss. They're coming. All of them. The entire council. Leon rose slowly. His face transformed. Ice replaced vulnerability. The monster returned. How long? 20 minutes. Maybe less. Leon looked at Chiara. His eyes held everything. Love, fear, determination. I need your answer, he said quietly. Now. Now. The world held its breath. Chiara looked at the ring. At the man. At the choice that would define everything. She opened her mouth to answer, and the lights went out. The blackout was absolute. Chiara couldn't see her own hands in front of her face. The silence that followed was worse, a void where sound should have been. Then Leon's voice, low and commanding. Marco, perimeter. On it. Footsteps. Quick. Professional. Then warmth at her side. Leon's hand finding hers in the darkness. Stay close, he murmured. Don't let go. She gripped his fingers. His knuckles pressed against her palm. The tattoo she traced with her eyes so many times now pressed against her skin. What's happening? They cut the power. Standard tactic. Confusion before assault. They're going to attack? They're going to try. His voice held no fear. Only cold certainty. Valentina. Sophia has her. Hidden room on the 3rd floor. Reinforced. Soundproof. She's safe. Soundproof. For a deaf child that meant nothing. But the isolation would terrify her. She'll be scared. She's stronger than she looks. A pause. Like you. The emergency generators kicked in. Dim red lights flickered to life along the baseboards, casting the study in blood-colored shadows. Leon's face emerged from the darkness. Hard. Focused. The ring still glinted in his other hand. I need your answer, Chiara. Now? In the middle of an attack. Especially now. If something happens to me, nothing's going to happen to you. If it does, he continued, ignoring her protest. You need protection. Legal standing. The marriage would give you both. Both. You and Valentina. The words hit her like a physical blow. He wasn't just thinking about her. He was thinking about what would happen to his daughter if he died. And he wanted her to be the one who stayed. Leon, I know it's unfair. I know I'm asking too much. But I've spent 8 years trying to find someone who would love her the way she deserves. Someone who would see her, understand her. His voice cracked. I found that person. I'm looking at her. Kiara's eyes burned. You barely know me. I know enough. What if I'm not strong enough? You are. What if I fail her? You won't. How can you be so sure? He lifted her hand, pressed it against his chest, against his heart. Because this doesn't lie. The same words he'd said earlier. Before the truth about her father had shattered everything. But something had shifted. She wasn't running anymore. If I say yes, she whispered, everything changes. Everything's already changed. I'd be trapped in your world. You'd be protected in my world. There's a difference? Yes. His thumb traced circles on her palm. In one, you're a prisoner. In the other, you're a queen. A queen. In a kingdom built on blood and shadows. And you? She asked. What would you be? His eyes held hers. Yours. The word was simple. Complete. Yours. Not your husband. Not your protector. Yours. As if she owned him. As if she held his heart in her hands and he was offering it willingly. Kiara took a breath. Another. And answered. Yes. The word had barely left her lips when the first gunshot cracked through the night. Distant. Outside the walls. But close enough to hear. Leon moved instantly. Slid the ring onto her finger. Perfect fit. Stay here. Leon. Stay. Here. He kissed her. Hard. Fast. Acclaiming. Promise. Then he was gone. Kiara stood alone in the red-lit darkness. The weight of the ring burning against her skin. What have I done? But even as the question formed, she knew the answer. She'd chosen. Not just him. Not just herself. Valentina. The little girl who'd looked at her with hope. Who'd smiled for the first time in years. Who needed someone to understand her. Kiara moved. Not toward the door where Leon had disappeared. Toward the stairs. Toward the third floor. Toward Valentina. The third floor was quiet. Too quiet. Kiara moved through shadows, her bare feet silent on the marble. The emergency lights cast crimson patterns on the walls, blood-colored warnings she refused to heed. She found the hidden room by following the baseboard lights. A section of wall that didn't match. A panel that gave slightly when she pressed. Valentina? No response. She pressed harder. The panel slid open. Inside, a small room. Reinforced steel walls. Emergency supplies. A single bed. And Valentina, huddled in the corner. Her hands pressed over her ears. She can't hear anything, Kiara realized. But she's reacting like she can. Then she understood. Vibrations. The gunfire was traveling through the walls. Through the floor. The little girl couldn't hear the sounds. But she could feel them. And she knew exactly what they meant. Kiara dropped to her knees. Valentina. It's me. It's Kiara. The girl looked up. Tear-streaked face. Wide, terrified eyes. They're hurting Papa. No. Your Papa is strong. He's protecting us. You don't know that. You don't know. I know him. I know he would never let anything happen to you. Valentina's hands trembled. Everyone leaves. Everyone disappears. My mama left. The nannies leave. Everyone. I'm not leaving. The words came out fiercer than Kiara intended. I promise, Valentina. I'm not leaving you. The girl stared at her. Then her gaze dropped. To Kiara's hand. To the ring. That's Papa's ring. Yes. He gave it to you? Yes. A pause. Then, does that mean you're staying? Forever. Kiara's heart cracked wide open. Forever, she signed. I promise. Valentina launched herself into Kiara's arms. Small body, huge heart. Kiara held her tight and made a vow in that hidden room, surrounded by steel and shadows. Whatever happened tonight, she would keep this child safe, no matter what it cost. Leon moved through his own house like a ghost. 30 years in this world had taught him many things. How to read a room, how to anticipate betrayal, how to kill without hesitation. He'd hoped those skills would never touch Kiara's world, but the council had forced his hand. There were 12 of them. Old men who'd served his father. Young ones who'd risen through blood and ambition. All of them had gathered tonight. All of them had come to claim what they believed was theirs. The Bartolotti legacy. They didn't understand. The legacy wasn't the money, the power, the territory. It was Valentina. It was Chiara. It was the family he'd built in secret, in the spaces between violence and death. And they would not take it from him. Marco fell in beside him as he reached the first floor. 6 on the east wing, 4 on the west, 2 trying to breach the north entrance. The council members? In the ballroom, waiting. Of course they were. They'd sent others to do the dirty work while they waited for the outcome. Cowards. Hold the perimeter, Leon said. I'll deal with the council. Boss. That's an order. Marco hesitated, then nodded. Give them hell. Leon smiled. Cold. Sharp. I always do. The ballroom had been transformed. The chandeliers were dark. Only candlelight illuminated the space. Dozens of flames flickering like hungry eyes. 12 men sat around a long table. Some old enough to have served Leon's grandfather. Others young enough to still believe in their own invincibility. At the head of the table sat Carlo Moretti, Leon's uncle by marriage. The man who'd always wanted control. The man who'd whispered poison in Vittorio's ear for decades. The man who, Leon now realized, had probably helped orchestrate his mother's disappearance. Leon. Carlo's voice was smooth, pleasant. So good of you to join us. I don't recall inviting you into my home. This isn't your home anymore. Hasn't been since we learned the truth about your lineage. The word dripped with contempt. You're not Vittorio's son. You have no claim to this family. Leon moved forward slowly. His tattoos caught the candlelight. The lion across his forearm, the Italian script on his knuckles. I've led this family for 14 years. I've expanded our territory, protected our interests, kept everyone at this table alive. And we're grateful. Carlo's smile didn't reach his eyes. But gratitude only goes so far. Vittorio had a true heir. A blood daughter. Who you've been trying to kill. Protect. Relocate. Certainly not kill. There's a dead man in my study who would disagree. Silence. Carlo's smile faltered. Things got complicated. They're about to get much more complicated. Leon reached into his jacket. 12 guns lifted. He paused, then pulled out a document. A marriage certificate, he said calmly. Signed 1 hour ago by Judge Ferrante. Witnessed by Marco Castellani and Sofia Benedetti. He tossed it onto the table. Chiara Bellandi is now Chiara Bartolotti. My wife. The room erupted. Voices overlapping. Chairs scraping. Hands reaching for weapons. You can't. She's the heir. This changes nothing. Leon's voice cut through like a blade. It changes everything. Silence fell. He looked at each man in turn. You want to challenge my claim? Fine. But now you're also challenging hers. And under family law, a spouse's claim supersedes all others. We'll contest. You'll die trying. The words were quiet. Absolute. I know what you did to my mother. I know who helped. I have names, dates, evidence. Carlo's face went white. You don't. I do. And here's what's going to happen. Leon moved to the head of the table. Stood directly behind Carlo's chair. You're going to stand down. All of you. You're going to accept my leadership. You're going to leave my wife and daughter alone. And if we don't? Leon leaned down, whispered in Carlo's ear. Then I'll do to you what you did to my mother. And I'll make sure it takes much, much longer. Carlo's hand trembled on the table. You're bluffing. Try me. A long moment. Then Carlo stood. This isn't over. Yes, Leon said quietly. It is. Carlo stared at him, then turned, walked to the door. One by one, the other council members followed. When the last one left, Leon allowed himself one breath. Then another. The doors locked behind them. He'd bought time, but he knew better than to think this was finished. The real battle was just beginning. Dawn broke soft and pink over the estate. Chiara emerged from the hidden room with Valentina in her arms. The girl had finally fallen asleep, exhausted by fear and relief. Leon met them in the hallway. He looked different in the morning light. Tired. Human. The blood had been washed from his face, but shadows lingered beneath his eyes. He reached for Valentina, cradled her against his chest. The girl stirred slightly, then settled. Is it over? Chiara asked. For now. What does that mean? It means we have enemies who won't stop, but they'll be careful now. The marriage changes the dynamics. She looked down at the ring on her finger. About that? Having regrets? No. She met his eyes. But we should probably talk about it when there aren't dead bodies involved. A ghost of a smile crossed his lips. Fair point. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Chiara reached out, touched his face. Thank you for protecting us. I'd do it again. Every time. I know. She leaned up, kissed him. Soft, gentle. Not the desperate claiming from the night before. Something different. Something that felt like beginning. Life settled into a new rhythm. Chiara moved into the estate. Not into Leon's room, that would come later when trust had deepened, but into a suite near Valentina's. The lessons continued. Piano, sign language, stories and laughter and the slow building of a family. Valentina bloomed. Her confidence grew. Her smile became easier. She started initiating conversations with staff members, teaching them basic signs, demanding they learn more. Leon watched it all, silently, but Chiara saw the way his eyes softened when he looked at his daughter. The way his hand would rest on Chiara's shoulder when he passed. The way he'd linger in doorways just to watch them together. He was falling. She could feel it. And so was she. It happened 3 weeks after the attack. Chiara was in the music room, playing something soft, a Chopin nocturne she'd learned as a child. Leon appeared in the doorway. She didn't stop playing, but she felt him, like always. Don't let me interrupt, he said. You're not. He moved closer, sat on the bench beside her. The space between them was small, intimate. I never learned to play, he said quietly. Never. My father considered it a waste of time. Said men should learn to fight, not make music. What did your mother think? A pause. She loved music. Used to play for me when I was young, before everything fell apart. Chiara's hands stilled on the keys. What was she like? Kind. Strong. She saw goodness in people even when they didn't deserve it. He smiled faintly. You would have liked her. I wish I could have met her. Me too. Silence. Then, you asked me once what I would be if you said yes. I said yours. But that wasn't entirely honest. What do you mean? He turned to face her. I've never belonged to anyone, Chiara. Not really. My father saw me as a disappointment. The family sees me as a tool. Even Valentina, as much as I love her, doesn't understand everything I am. What do you want me to understand? His eyes searched her face. That I'm terrified. That loving someone feels like handing them a weapon. That every time you walk out that door, I imagine 100 ways I could lose you. Her breath caught. Leon, I've killed people. I've done things that would make you sick. I'm not the hero in any story. I'm the monster they warn princesses about. Is that what you think I see? A monster. It's what I am. No. She reached up, cupped his face. It's what you've had to become to survive. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. She kissed him. Slow. Deep. When they broke apart, his forehead rested against hers. I don't deserve you, he whispered. Let me decide what you deserve. His laugh was low, almost surprised. You're not afraid of anything, are you? I'm afraid of plenty. Just not you. His hand tangled in her hair. Promise me something. What? If it ever becomes too much. The violence, the secrets, the darkness. Tell me. Don't suffer in silence. Don't pretend. I promise. And I'll promise you the same. No more masks. Not with you. She smiled. Deal. 2 weeks later, Marco brought news. He entered Leon's study looking grave. We found your mother. Leon went still. completely, utterly still. What? Not alive. Marco's voice was careful. A burial site. Off the estate. Hidden for 25 years. The room fell silent. Chiara was there. She'd been reviewing lesson plans at the desk when Marco entered. She watched Leon's face. Watched the mask crack. Reform. Crack again. Where? The old vineyard. Behind the stone wall. Leon didn't move. Didn't speak. Then, thank you, Marco. That will be all. Marco hesitated. Then left. The door closed behind him. Leon remained standing for a long moment. Then his knees buckled. He caught himself on the desk. And for the first time since she'd known him, he wept. Chiara didn't speak. She crossed the room, wrapped her arms around him, held him while 25 years of grief poured out. His body shook. His hands gripped her shoulders like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to earth. And maybe she was. They stayed like that for a long time. When he finally lifted his head, his eyes were red. Vulnerable. I knew, he whispered. Part of me always knew she didn't leave. She wouldn't have. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't bring her back. No. But you don't have to carry this alone anymore. He looked at her. Really looked. How can you still be here? After everything you've learned? Everything I've done. Because grief doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. His jaw tightened. I've spent my whole life trying not to be human. Human meant vulnerable. Human meant dead. Human also means loved. The word hung between them. Loved. Do you? He asked quietly. Do I what? Love me. She held his gaze. Yes. Simple. True. His breath caught. I don't know how to be loved. Then learn. With me. He kissed her. Desperate. Aching. The kiss of a man who'd finally stopped running. They buried Maria Bartolotti 3 days later. Private. Simple. Just the immediate family. Chiara stood beside Leon, her hand in his. Valentina stood on his other side, small fingers gripping his jacket. The priest spoke words of comfort. But Chiara knew Leon wasn't listening. He was staring at the coffin. At the woman who'd been stolen from him 25 years ago. At the mother he'd never had the chance to say goodbye to. When the ceremony ended, people drifted away. Valentina was taken back to the house by Sofia. But Leon stayed, and Chiara stayed with him. She would have loved you, he said finally. You think so? I know so. She always said I'd meet someone who wouldn't be afraid of the darkness. Someone who'd walk through it with me. Chiara squeezed his hand. Here I am. He turned to face her. Here you are. His thumb traced her cheekbone. Move into my room. It wasn't a question. But it wasn't a demand either. Something in between. Are you sure? I've never been more sure of anything. She smiled. Okay. Tonight. Tonight. The master suite was vast. Dark wood. Rich fabrics. A bed that could sleep 6. But Chiara noticed none of it. She only saw him. Leon stood by the window, backlit by moonlight. The tattoo at the base of his neck was visible above his collar. Roman numerals marking the date his mother had disappeared. The date he now knew she'd died. He'd had it inked when he was 16. Never forget. He never had. You're beautiful, she said softly. He turned. That's supposed to be my line. Says who? A ghost of a smile. Convention. I've never been conventional. No, you haven't. He crossed the room, stopped in front of her. His hand lifted, traced the line of her jaw. I've imagined this, he murmured. Having you here, in this room. And, reality's better. She laughed softly, then sobered. Leon, whatever happens tonight, whatever we are to each other, I need you to know something. What? I chose this. This life. Not because of protection. Not because of the ring. Because I want to be here. His eyes darkened. Even knowing what I am? Especially knowing what you are. He kissed her. Slow at first. Then deeper. The world narrowed to this room. This moment. This man. When they finally broke apart, breathless. His forehead rested against hers. Stay, he whispered. I already said yes. I know, but I'll ask every night. Just to hear you say it again. She smiled. Yes, always yes. They fell into each other. And for the first time in both their lives, neither of them was alone. The scene fades, intimate but not explicit, conveying depth of connection and the beginning of something permanent. The estate had transformed. Not physically, the walls were still stone, the gates still iron. But something intangible had changed. Laughter echoed through hallways that had only known silence. Music drifted from the piano room at all hours. And Valentina was thriving. She'd started teaching sign language to the household staff. Had formed a small club of sorts. Anyone who wanted to learn met in the garden every Saturday. Even Marco had joined. His signs were clumsy, his fingers thick and uncooperative. But he tried. And Valentina beamed every time he got something right. Chiara watched it all with quiet joy. This was what she'd always wanted. Not wealth. Not power. Family. Real, imperfect, beautiful family. 3 months later. The estate had transformed. Not physically, the walls were still stone, the gates still iron. But something intangible had changed. Laughter echoed through hallways that had only known silence. Music drifted from the piano room at all hours. And Valentina was thriving. She'd started teaching sign language to the household staff. Had formed a small club of sorts. Anyone who wanted to learn met in the garden every Saturday. Even Marco had joined. His signs were clumsy, his fingers thick and uncooperative. But he tried. And Valentina beamed every time he got something right. Chiara watched it all with quiet joy. This was what she'd always wanted. Not wealth. Not power. Family. Real, imperfect, beautiful family. Leone found her in the garden one afternoon. She was sitting on a stone bench, watching Valentina chase butterflies through the rose bushes. He sat beside her without a word. Just his presence. His warmth. After a moment, she leaned into him. His arm came around her shoulders. She asked me something this morning, Leone said quietly. What? If you're her mother now. Chiara's breath caught. What did you tell her? I asked her what she thought. And she said yes, because mothers are people who stay. And you stayed. Tears pricked Chiara's eyes. I'll always stay. I know. They sat in comfortable silence. Then Leone spoke again. There's something I need to tell you. She heard the shift in his tone. Looked up. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. But Carlo made a move yesterday. Her stomach tightened. What kind of move? He's trying to fracture the council. Turn members against me. He's claiming the marriage was coercion. That you're not fit to be part of this family. Because of my mother? Because you're an outsider. Because you didn't grow up in this world. Chiara pulled back slightly. What does that mean for us? It means we need to make a public statement. Something that proves you're not just accepted, you're essential. How? He held her gaze. A formal ceremony, in front of the families, witnessed by everyone who matters. We're already married. Legally, but not publicly. In this world, perception is everything. She understood. This wasn't about love. It was about power. When? 2 weeks. I've already started the arrangements. You didn't ask me. I know. He cupped her face. But I'm asking now. Will you stand beside me? Let them see exactly who you are. She thought about it. About stepping fully into his world. About becoming not just his wife but his partner. Yes, she said finally. But on one condition. What? Valentina is part of the ceremony. She stands with us. I want everyone to see that she's not hidden. Not ashamed. Not invisible. Something fierce lit in Leone's eyes. You're sure? It will put a target on her. There's already a target on her. But if she's visible, if they see her strength, they'll think twice before moving against her. He stared at her, then kissed her. Hard. When he pulled back, his voice was rough. You're going to be a terrifying queen. She smiled. Good. The next 2 weeks were chaos. Tailors, planners, security assessments. Leone wanted every detail perfect. Chiara found herself swept into a world she'd only glimpsed before. The machinery of Mafia politics. Representatives from allied families sent gifts. Congratulations. thinly veiled threats disguised as well wishes. Through it all, Valentina was her anchor. The girl insisted on being involved in everything, choosing flowers, tasting cake, practicing her role in the ceremony. I get to sign the vows? She'd asked, eyes wide. If you want to, Chiara had signed back. I want to. I want everyone to understand. They might not know sign language. Then they'll learn. Papa says you're teaching the whole city to see differently. I want to help. Chiara's heart had nearly burst. 3 days before the ceremony, Chiara received a visitor. An older woman, elegant, silver hair swept into a chignon, eyes that missed nothing. You must be Chiara. I am. And you are. Lucia Moretti, Carlo's wife. Ice flooded Chiara's veins. But Lucia's expression wasn't hostile. It was curious. May I sit? Chiara gestured to a chair. They sat in the music room. Afternoon light streaming through tall windows. Lucia looked around. You've changed this place. It used to feel like a mausoleum. Now it feels alive. I didn't change anything. I just filled it with love. Lucia smiled faintly. That's more powerful than you realize. Why are you here? Lucia's gaze sharpened. To warn you. And to apologize. For what? My husband is a fool. He's angry about losing power. About watching Leon succeed where he failed. He's going to make a move during the ceremony. Chiara's hands tightened on the armrest. What kind of move? I don't know exactly. He won't tell me. But I know him. He'll try to humiliate you. Prove you don't belong. And you're telling me this because? Lucia looked away. Out the window. Because I loved Maria Bartolotti. She was my friend. And Carlo. Her voice cracked. Carlo was the one who killed her. The world tilted. What? I didn't know. Not for years. Not until after Vittorio died and I found documents. Letters. Lucia's hands trembled. He killed her because she discovered he was embezzling from the family. She was going to expose him. Did Leon know? Not then. But he does now. I sent him the evidence 6 months ago. 6 months. Before Chiara had even entered this world. Leon had known who killed his mother. Had known for half a year. And yet Carlo still lived. Why hasn't Leon killed him? Lucia's laugh was bitter. Because he's been waiting. Gathering proof. Building a case that even the council can't ignore. Your marriage accelerated his timeline. How? Because now he has something to protect. Before, he was just avenging his mother. Now he's protecting his wife. His daughter. His family. She stood. Be careful, Chiara. Carlo is desperate. And desperate men do terrible things. She left. And Chiara sat alone in the music room. Processing. Leon had known. All this time. She found him in his study an hour later. He looked up when she entered. One glance at her face and he set down his pen. What happened? Lucia Moretti was here. His expression didn't change. But something in his eyes darkened. What did she tell you? That Carlo killed your mother. That you've known for 6 months. That you've been planning something. Silence. Then, I was going to tell you. When? After the ceremony. After you were safe. I'm already safe. I'm standing right here. Chiara. Don't. She crossed the room. Stopped in front of his desk. Don't protect me from the truth. I chose this life. I chose you. That means all of it. Not just the beautiful parts. He stood slowly. You're angry. I'm hurt. There's a difference. I never wanted you to carry this. It's not your decision what I carry. His jaw tightened. You're right. I should have told you. Yes, you should have. A pause. I'm sorry. The words were quiet. Sincere. She took a breath. What are you planning? Justice. At the ceremony. In front of everyone. How? Carlo will make his move. Try to humiliate you. Challenge your legitimacy. Leon's voice was cold. Clinical. And when he does, I'll present the evidence. Publicly. Irreversibly. And then, the council will have no choice. He'll be exiled. Stripped of power. Everything he built will crumble. Not killed. Death is too easy. I want him to watch his empire fall apart. To know he lost everything. Chiara studied his face, saw the calculated vengeance, the cold precision, but also the pain, the loss, the son who'd spent 25 years searching for his mother. She reached across the desk, took his hand. When this is over, when Carlo is finished and the council is settled, we're done with secrets. Agreed. He looked at their joined hands, the ring glinting on her finger, the tattoo on his knuckles. Agreed. The day arrived. Perfect October afternoon. Golden light. Clear skies. The estate's grand ballroom had been transformed. Hundreds of candles. White roses. Silk draping that caught the light like water. Every major family in the region was represented. Judges. Politicians. Power brokers whose names never appeared in newspapers but whose decisions shaped cities. And at the center of it all, Chiara. She wore ivory silk. Simple. Elegant. Her dark hair was swept up, revealing the graceful line of her neck. No diamonds. No extravagance. Just her. Leone stood beside her in a black suit. The tattoo at the base of his neck was visible above his collar. The script on his knuckles caught the light as he adjusted his cuffs. And between them, Valentina, in a soft blue dress that matched her eyes. Her dark curls were loose around her shoulders. She held a small card with the ceremony words written in both Italian and sign language. When the ceremony began, the priest spoke. But Valentina signed. Every word, every vow. The room fell silent. Not uncomfortable, reverent, because they were watching something they'd never seen before. A deaf child commanding absolute attention. Not through volume, through presence. Chiara's eyes burned with tears. Leone's hand found hers. Squeezed. This is what we built, the gesture said. This is what we protect. The vows were spoken. Rings were exchanged. And then, Carlo Moretti stood. I object. The room erupted. Gasps. Murmurs. Shocked whispers. Leone turned slowly. His expression was ice. On what grounds? On the grounds that this woman has no legitimate claim to this family. Her mother was a servant. A nobody. And she herself has no understanding of our world. Our traditions. Is that all? Isn't that enough? Leone smiled. It was terrifying. Marco. Marco stepped forward. Handed Leone a folder. Leone opened it. Pulled out documents. Chiara Bartolotti, he emphasized the surname, is the biological daughter of Vittorio Bartolotti, blood heir to this family. Her claim supersedes yours. Supersedes mine. Supersedes everyone's. A bastard has no. Careful. Leone's voice dropped. The next words out of your mouth will determine whether you leave this room on your feet or in a box. Carlo's face went red, but he fell silent. Leone continued. Furthermore, you stand accused of embezzlement, fraud, and murder. That's a lie. Is it? Leone held up another document. This is a letter, written by my mother, Maria Bartolotti, dated 3 days before she disappeared. In it she details your theft, your betrayal, your threats. He handed the letter to the nearest council member. It was passed around. Each man who read it grew pale. You killed her, Leone said quietly. You murdered my mother to hide your crimes. And you've spent 25 years pretending to be loyal while you rotted this family from the inside. You can't prove. I can. And I will. Leone's eyes were black. Empty. You're stripped of your titles, your territory, your seat on the council. You have 24 hours to leave the country. If you're still here after that. He didn't finish. He didn't need to. Carlo stood frozen. Then he looked around the room. At faces that had once deferred to him. Now they looked away. He was already a ghost. He fled. The room remained silent for a long moment. Then one man stood. Then another. Then the entire room. They bowed. Not to Leone. To Chiara. Recognizing her. Accepting her. Queen. The ceremony ended. Guests drifted away. Congratulations. Well wishes. Carefully neutral statements that conveyed support without commitment. Politics even in victory. But Chiara barely noticed. She was watching Valentina. The girl stood near the window signing to Sophia. Her face was animated, happy. For the first time in her life she'd been seen. Not pitted, not avoided. Seen. Leon came up behind Chiara. His hand settled on her waist. You did this, he murmured. We did this. No, you taught me how. I just followed your lead. She turned in his arms. What happens now? Now we live. We build. We protect what's ours. And Carlo? Gone. He'll spend the rest of his life looking over his shoulder, wondering when I'll change my mind about letting him live. Will you? He held her gaze. Do you want me to? She thought about it. About justice. About mercy. About the man she'd become. No, she said finally. Let him suffer. Let him remember what he lost. Leon's smile was slow, dangerous. As you wish. He kissed her. Long. Deep. When they broke apart, Valentina was standing beside them. Can we go home now? I'm tired. Chiara knelt. Of course, love. Let's go home. All three of us? All three of us. Always. Valentina smiled. Then threw her arms around both of them. And in that embrace, family, forged in darkness, bound by love, unbreakable. Spring came early that year. The gardens bloomed with roses and jasmine. Valentina spent hours outside, teaching her sign language club new words. The household had swelled to include tutors, musicians, and staff members who'd learned to communicate in more than just words. Chiara's piano students now included several children from allied families. She'd started a small music program, free for any child who wanted to learn, regardless of background. Leon had funded it without question. You're building something better, he'd said. A world where Valentina won't be an exception. She's not an exception now. No. She's the beginning of something new. The council had settled. New members had been appointed. Old alliances had shifted. And at the center of it all, the Bartolotti family, stronger than ever. Chiara discovered she was pregnant on a Tuesday. She'd suspected for weeks. The nausea, the fatigue, the way her body felt different. But seeing the test, positive, real. She sat on the edge of the bathtub, staring at the two pink lines. A baby. Their baby. She didn't know how to feel. Terrified, thrilled, overwhelmed. All of it at once. She found Leon in his study. He looked up when she entered, saw her face, stood immediately. What's wrong? She held out the test. He stared at it, at the two lines, at her face. You're pregnant. Yes. Silence. Then he crossed the room, pulled her into his arms. Are you okay? I don't know. Are you? He laughed, low, almost disbelieving. I'm terrified. Me too. And happy. Me too. They held each other. Two people who'd found family in the most unlikely place, now creating new life. Valentina is going to lose her mind, Chiara said. She's been asking for a sibling for months. I know. I just didn't expect it to happen this fast. Leon pulled back slightly, cupped her face. I love you, he said. Simple. Complete. I love you too. I'm going to be a terrible father. You're already an amazing father. That's different. Valentina came to me fully formed. A baby. We'll figure it out. Together. He pressed his forehead to hers. Together. They told her that night. After dinner. In the music room. Valentina sat between them on the piano bench, her small hands folded in her lap. Leon signed while Chiara spoke. We have some news, Piccola. Valentina's eyes widened. Good news or bad news? Good news. Very good news. What is it? Chiara took a breath. You're going to be a big sister. For a moment, Valentina didn't move, didn't react. Then, she launched herself at Chiara, arms around her neck, face buried in her shoulder. When she pulled back, tears were streaming down her face. Really? A real baby? A real baby. When? 7 more months. Can I help? Can I teach them sign language? Can I? You can do all of it, Leon signed. You're going to be the best big sister. Valentina beamed. Then her expression turned serious. Will you still love me? After the baby comes. Chiara's heart shattered. She pulled Valentina onto her lap. Listen to me. We will always love you. Always. A new baby doesn't change that. It just means we have more love to give. Promise. I promise. Leon wrapped his arms around both of them. You're my daughter, Valentina. Nothing changes that. Not time. Not blood. Not anything. She nestled between them, and for a long moment they just sat. Family. About to grow. The peace lasted 3 more months. Chiara was starting to show. A small bump that Valentina loved to touch. Signing greetings to the baby every morning. Life felt almost normal. Then the letter arrived. Plain envelope. No return address. Marco brought it to Leon during breakfast. This was left at the gate. Leon's expression darkened as he read. What is it? Chiara asked. He handed her the letter. Your bastard wife carries another bastard. The Bartolotti line is polluted. This ends now. Her blood ran cold. Who? Carlo. Or someone working for him. I thought he left the country. He did. But that doesn't mean he's given up. Leon stood. Marco. Double security. No one in or out without clearance. And find out who delivered this. On it. He left. Valentina looked between them, sensing the tension. What's wrong? Nothing, love. Just grown-up business. But the girl knew better. Her hands moved slowly. Someone wants to hurt the baby. Chiara's throat tightened. We won't let them. Promise. Promise. But even as she signed the word, fear coiled in her gut. The next week was tense. Security was tripled. Every entrance was monitored. Every visitor was screened. Chiara felt like a prisoner in her own home. But she understood. This was the cost. This was the price of the life they'd built. She tried to maintain normalcy for Valentina's sake. Lessons, music, stories. But the girl knew something was wrong. When will it be safe again? She asked one afternoon. Soon, I hope. What if it's never safe? Chiara hesitated. Then we'll be brave anyway. Valentina considered this. Then nodded. Like Papa. Exactly like Papa. The attack came on a Thursday. Chiara was in the garden with Valentina when the shots rang out. 3, 4. Rapid succession. Chaos erupted. Guards shouting. Staff running. Alarms blaring. Chiara grabbed Valentina. Run. They sprinted toward the house. More gunfire. Closer. A guard fell. Then another. Chiara's heart hammered. Get inside. Get to safety. They reached the door. Hands grabbed Chiara from behind. She screamed. Kicked. Valentina was ripped from her arms. No! A cloth over her mouth. Chemical smell. Everything went dark. She woke in darkness. Head pounding. Mouth dry. Slowly the world came into focus. A room. Concrete walls. A single bulb hanging from the ceiling. And across from her, Valentina, tied to a chair, eyes wide with terror. Chiara! I'm here. I'm okay. She tried to move. Her hands were bound, feet tied to the chair. Panic flared. Then a door opened, and Carlo Moretti stepped inside. He looked different, thinner, older. The elegance had been replaced by something harder. Desperation. Good. You're awake. Let her go. Chiara's voice was raw. She's a child. She has nothing to do with this. She's his child. That's enough. Carlo, you ruined everything. His voice was almost conversational. I had power, respect, a legacy, and then you appeared. Some nobody with a pretty face and a bleeding heart. I didn't. You turned him soft, made him weak, and now look what you've built, a family. How touching. He circled her chair. Leon took everything from me. My position, my wealth, my reputation. So I'm going to take everything from him. He stopped in front of Valentina. The girl shrank back. Starting with her. Chiara's heart stopped. Don't, please. She's innocent. No one in this family is innocent. He pulled out a gun, pointed it at Valentina. Chiara screamed. The door burst open. Leon filled the doorway. Gun raised. Eyes black. Step away from my daughter. Carlo laughed. Ah, there he is. The great Il Leon. Come to save the day. Last warning. You won't shoot. Not with her in the line of fire. Won't I? Something in Leon's voice made Carlo hesitate. Because Leon looked different. Not controlled. Not calculating. Unhinged. You took my mother, Leon said quietly. You tried to destroy my family. You threatened my wife. My daughter. My unborn child. Each word was a nail in a coffin. Do you really think I care about collateral damage anymore? Carlo's hand trembled. You're bluffing. Try me. The standoff stretched. Then, Valentina moved. She'd been working at her bonds. Small hands. Patient. The rope gave. She launched herself sideways. Out of the line of fire. Leon pulled the trigger. Once. The shot was deafening in the small space. Carlo dropped. Blood pooled. Leon crossed the room. Untied Chiara with shaking hands. Are you hurt? No. The baby. We'll get you checked. Right now, we need to move. He untied Valentina next. Pulled her into his arms. She was shaking. Silent tears streaming down her face. I was so scared. I know, Piccola. I know. But you're safe now. I have you. Marco appeared in the doorway. Clear. All hostiles down. Leon nodded. Then he looked at Chiara. At Valentina. At his family. Let's go home. The next weeks were difficult. Valentina had nightmares. She'd wake screaming, or rather, they'd wake to find her standing in their doorway, tears streaming, hands shaking. Leon or Chiara would pull her into their bed, hold her, let her know she was safe. Chiara saw a doctor. The baby was fine, healthy, strong, but the trauma had taken its toll. She jumped at sudden sounds, couldn't sleep alone, found herself checking locks obsessively. Leon understood. He didn't push, just stayed close, present. One night, she found him in his study, staring at a photograph. His mother. Do you think she'd be proud? He asked quietly. Of what? Of what I've become, what I've built. Chiara sat beside him. I think she'd be proud that you survived, that you created something beautiful out of all that darkness. I killed a man in front of our daughter. You protected our daughter. There's a difference. He closed his eyes. I wanted to be different. Better. Not this. You are different. You're not your father. You're not the monster everyone fears. Then what am I? She took his hand. You're the man who learned to love, who built a family, who chose light even when darkness was easier. He looked at her. Really looked. How can you still see good in me? Because it's there. It's always been there. You just needed someone to believe in it. He pulled her close, buried his face in her hair. I don't deserve you. Let me decide that. They sat in silence. Two broken people, healing each other. 7 months later, Chiara went into labor on a Sunday morning. She woke to contractions. Sharp, regular. Leon. He was awake instantly. Is it time? I think so. He moved with military precision. Called the doctor. Alerted the staff. Made sure Valentina was with Sofia. But when he helped Chiara to the car, his hands were shaking. You're nervous, she said. Terrified. You've faced armed men without flinching. This is different. She laughed. Then gasped as another contraction hit. The labor was long. Painful. But Leon never left her side. He held her hand. Whispered encouragement. Let her squeeze hard enough to leave bruises. And when the doctor finally said, push, Chiara bore down with everything she had. Once, twice, the third time, then, a cry, loud, piercing, beautiful. It's a girl, the doctor announced. Leon's eyes flooded. They placed the baby in Chiara's arms. Tiny, perfect, dark hair already thick on her small head. She's beautiful, Leon whispered. She looks like you. She looks like us. Chiara smiled through tears. What should we name her? Leon touched the baby's small hand. Her fingers wrapped around his. Maria, he said quietly. After my mother. Chiara's throat tightened. Maria Bartolotti. Is that okay? It's perfect. Valentina met her sister that evening. She approached the hospital bed slowly, almost reverently. She's so small. You were this small once. Really? Really? Can I hold her? Leon lifted Maria carefully, placed her in Valentina's arms. The girl's face transformed. Wonder, love, instant devotion. Hi, Maria. I'm your big sister. I'm gonna teach you everything. Sign language, music, how to be brave. The baby yawned. Valentina giggled. And Chiara knew. This was what they'd fought for. This moment. This family. 1 year later, Maria's first birthday was celebrated in the garden. A small party. Just family and close friends. The little girl toddled between guests, her dark curls bouncing. She had Leon's eyes, Chiara's smile, and Valentina's fierce protectiveness. The 10-year-old followed her sister everywhere. Careful. Don't fall. Here. Hold my hand. It was both adorable and exasperating. Leon watched from the patio. Chiara joined him. They're beautiful together. They are. Valentina's been asking about sign language lessons for Maria. Leon smiled. She's one. She can barely talk. Valentina says you're never too young to learn. She's not wrong. They stood in comfortable silence, watching their daughters, their family. Do you ever miss it? Chiara asked quietly. Miss what? Your old life. Before all this. He turned to her. Not for a second. Not even a little? Chiara, I spent 30 years building an empire, creating fear, amassing power, and I was empty. He cupped her face. You gave me something I never thought I'd have. What? A reason to live instead of just survive. She leaned into his touch. I love you. I love you. Both of you. All three of you. 4. He blinked. What? She placed his hand on her stomach, where a small bump was just beginning to show. His eyes widened. You're pregnant. Again. I found out yesterday. He was silent for a long moment. Then he laughed. Low, warm, full of joy. We're going to need a bigger house. We have a villa. A bigger villa. She grinned. Then he kissed her. Long, deep, the kind of kiss that promised forever. 5 years later, the ending. The estate had changed. The gardens had been expanded to include a playground. The music room now held 3 pianos. The hallways echoed with children's laughter. Maria was 6, fluent in both Italian and sign language, already learning piano from her mother. Antonio was 3, a wild child with Leon's intensity and Chiara's empathy. And Valentina, 15 now, beautiful, confident, still teaching sign language to anyone who would learn. She'd started a non-profit. Here with Your Heart, she'd named it, teaching businesses, schools, community centers, anywhere that would listen. She'd become the voice and hands of a movement. Leon watched her giving a presentation one afternoon, stood in the back of the auditorium, watched his daughter command a room full of adults. Communication isn't about words, she signed. It's about connection, about choosing to understand someone different from you. The audience was rapt. When she finished, they stood, applauded, and Leon's chest swelled with pride. That night, the whole family gathered for dinner, a tradition Chiara had insisted on. No phones, no business, just us. Maria chattered about her piano recital. Antonio demanded more pasta. Valentina talked about her upcoming trip to Rome, a conference where she'd be speaking. Chiara managed it all with grace. And Leon just watched. His wife, his children, his family. This was what his mother had wanted for him. Not power, not fear. This, after dinner, after the children were in bed, Leon found Chiara on the patio. She was playing piano, a new piece she was working on. He recognized it, the nocturne from their first real conversation. She looked up when he approached. You remember this? I remember everything. He sat beside her on the bench. Their ritual. Do you have any regrets? She asked. About everything. This life. Me. The children. He was quiet for a moment. Then, only one. Her heart skipped. What? That I didn't meet you sooner. She laughed. Soft. Warm. We met exactly when we were supposed to. You think so? I know so. We were both broken. Both searching. both exactly what the other needed. She rested her head on his shoulder. I love our life, Leon. Even with the chaos? Especially with the chaos. He kissed the top of her head. I spent my whole life looking for my mother, trying to understand what happened to her. Why she left. And I found something better. I found you. I found a family that chose me, that sees me, that loves me despite everything I've done. Because of everything you've done, you survived. You built something beautiful from ashes. He pulled her closer. Marry me again. She lifted her head. We're already married. I know, but I want to do it again. In front of our children. In front of everyone. I want them to see what we've built. What we've become. Tears filled her eyes. Yes. Yes. Always yes. They renewed their vows in the garden. 6 months later. Perfect spring day. Maria and Antonio stood beside them. Maria in a soft pink dress. Antonio in a tiny suit he kept trying to escape. And Valentina officiated. She'd gotten ordained specifically for this. We're gathered here, she signed and spoke simultaneously, to witness two people who already know what marriage means, who've lived it, who've built it from nothing. Chiara's eyes were already wet. Papa, you taught me that strength isn't about never falling. It's about choosing to stand back up. You chose to stand. Every day. Even when it was hard. Leon's jaw tightened. Chiara, you taught me that love is a language. One that doesn't need words. Just presence. Just understanding. You spoke that language to me when no one else would. She turned to them both. Do you promise to keep choosing each other? To keep building this family? To keep loving even when it's hard? I do, Leon said. I do, Chiara whispered. Then by the power vested in me. Valentina grinned. I now pronounce you still married. Papa, you may kiss your wife. Again. Laughter rippled through the small crowd. Leon cupped Chiara's face. I love you, he murmured. I love you more. Impossible. He kissed her. Long. Deep. The kind of kiss that held everything. Every struggle. Every victory. Every moment that had brought them here. When they broke apart, their children surrounded them. Valentina. Maria. Antonio. Family. Built in darkness. Forged in light. Unbreakable. 10 years later. Leon Bartolotti was 51 when he officially retired. He passed control of the family business to a council of elected leaders. No more dynasties, he'd announced. No more children inheriting violence. It had been controversial, but his word was still law. He'd ensured the transition was smooth, the territory protected, the peace maintained. Then he'd walked away. He found Chiara in the music room. She was teaching. A group of students, some hearing, some deaf, learning piano together. He waited until the lesson finished. Then approached. You're getting gray, she said, smiling. So are you. I've earned it. So have I. She stood, wrapped her arms around him. How does it feel? Being retired. Strange. Good. Terrifying. What will you do with all your free time? He pulled back slightly, looked at her, at the woman who'd changed everything. Spend it with you. That's it. That's everything. She kissed him, and he thought about the journey, about the broken man he'd been, about the woman who'd knelt before his daughter and spoken with her hands, about the family they'd built from silence and understanding. She saw everyone avoid the Mafia boss's deaf daughter, until she spoke with her in sign language. And that single moment, that choice, had changed everything. Not just for Valentina, not just for him, for all of them. Valentina was 25 now, running her nonprofit full-time, engaged to a sign language interpreter she'd met at a conference. Maria was 16, piano prodigy, already performing professionally. Antonio was 13, wild, brilliant, determined to be a doctor. And together, they were proof that families aren't born, they're built. One choice at a time, one moment of understanding, one hand reaching out when everyone else turns away. That night, Leon and Chiara sat in their bedroom. Moonlight streamed through the windows. She was curled against his side. His hand traced idle patterns on her arm. Do you remember what you asked me? He said quietly. That first night, after the attack, when I proposed. What did I ask? If it was just about survival. I remember. I lied. She lifted her head. What? It was never just survival. From the moment you knelt before Valentina, from the moment you looked at me without fear, I was already falling. You hid it well. I had to. Loving someone in my world was dangerous. Loving you was terrifying. And now, he pulled her closer. Now it's the only thing that makes sense. She kissed his jaw. I'm glad I stayed. So am I. Silence. Comfortable. Complete. Leon. Thank you. For what? For letting me in. For trusting me. For building this life with me. He turned to face her. Chiara, you didn't just give me a life. You gave me a reason to live it. Her eyes filled. We saved each other. Yes, we did. They held each other as moonlight faded to dawn. Two people who'd found each other in the most unlikely way. Who'd built a family from broken pieces. Who'd chosen love over fear. Every single day. The end.